Story 1. A meal at a restaurant. My husband, child, and I would go eat a big meal at a restaurant and get as much as we want. I would get soup, salad, bread, a cocktail, steak, a potato, dessert, and coffee. After that, a reliable car. Story 2. The government. Apparently, it is for sale. Then I would give everyone universal health care, give teachers a minimum salary of $100,000, and ensure a maximum classroom size of 20 students. Make kindergarten through grade 16 completely free with student meals while schools are in session. Childcare would be attached to elementary and middle schools and also be free. Then, color me surprised when the economy is so good that I am net positive after 20 years. Story 3. I would donate to cancer research and any medical research I think is worth it. I would donate a bunch of it to charity. Then I would buy every artificial intelligence company and shut down artificial intelligence art generators. Story 4. A castle and maybe even hire a comedian to be a jester. I would commission historians and artists to decorate the inside to be as historically accurate as possible, but with modern conveniences such as electricity and insulation. I would have it organized to be turned into a museum after I die because too many people think castles were just bare stone. I live in America, so there are not really any castles. I accept I would be one of those eccentric billionaires doing strange things just because I can, but I would also give generously to the church and to the community to build public works and such. Besides my unusual pet projects, I would make it a goal to leave the world a better place than it was before. Story 5. Everyone. As a start, most likely, every property for sale in my city. I will be a menace of good. All will hate my left-wing ways. Welcome to Socialistville, everyone. Story 6. If you had an infinite amount of money, that would mean there was an infinite amount of money. And if there was an infinite amount of money, that would mean that money is worthless. So probably nothing. Story 7. I think I would buy the United States government. I don't need it too long, just long enough to prevent our government from being bought again. Putting limits on campaign financing, severely restricting executive orders, restoring protections for federal workers, term limits, age limits, and so on. Things that you would enact if you believed in democracy and loved your country. Story 8. Surgery for my dad. He's had sciatic nerve pain for a decade, and it makes it difficult for him to walk. However, he can't afford to take time off work for surgery. I would give him the money for the surgery and to retire so he can heal. Story 9. I would buy all my family and friends' houses as well as a bigger, better house for my husband and me. There are a few people I would want to give a whole lot of money to. Story 10. I would buy a humble island, put a dome over it, learn to operate a submarine, and make it my own personal heaven on earth. Insulated and happy from the impending misery. Mark my words, humanity is about to crumble. I tried off-grid living and it was not enough. You need isolation, away from everyone and everything. Story 11. Houses for my kids. If I did not have kids, it would be land set aside for indigenous animals, protecting them from predators as part of the package. Bush bridges over roads and guard rails along roads where many animals are killed. Story 12. Probably not the first things, but I would fund continent-wide public rail, renewable energy, and asteroid mining. I would want to buy all of the Federal Reserve, just to force them to close all the loopholes, but I would need some serious help navigating that bramble of complicated issues. Story 13. Universal healthcare, vision, medicine, prescriptions, mental illness, and physical therapy. All of it. Free. I would pay nurses twice as much. Invest heavily in medical research. I would make school and university free. Nobody goes to bed hungry. Free food for everyone, as long as it's healthy and nutritious. I would vastly improve libraries. I would invest heavily in public transport, magnetic levitation trains, and more everywhere. No bills for electricity, gas, or water. I would reward people for helpful innovations that advance humanity. I would send people into space who are mean to animals or children. Story 14. The best steak dinner, anywhere I can fly to in a private plane. I need to prioritize my spending and research which organizations such as international aid, animal shelters, and research would have the greatest impact. I think better full of beef and whiskey. Story 15. I'd pay off my friend's mortgage, then jump on my new jet plane, invite her to go along with me and my family, and take us all out of the United States for the next 10 years. I need a break. Story 16. A skiff, a package of incontinence products, then looking for a remote cabin for sale. The skiff is the first thing. I live on an island, but I want fewer neighbors and no roads. The incontinence products are because I get motion sickness really easily, and at my age, if I'm projectile vomiting, it's probably coming out both ends. I'd just like a small cabin. Then, I would wipe out the debt of every full-time resident here. Bring in people that help with addiction. Put in something for the homeless. Add some kind of training for a new local enterprise. Buy out the out-of-state commercial fishermen who bring their boats up here and give them to Alaskans. The same with the summertime lodges. Story 17. An absolute infinity of buying power? I would make all expense-paid vacation resorts for abused children where they can decide when they want to leave and what they want to learn at their own pace. Story 18. Build my hockey rink with a sports rehabilitation facility and a bar overlooking the ice. Really nice locker rooms. I have many ideas. The lottery is my only real chance, but this would be the dream. Story 19. I would start a non-profit green energy company that would work to put in small solar installations. Under the solar installations, we would have garden space. We would also install them over parking lots of businesses. We would have tiered pricing based on income. Special services should not be for profit. Story 20. I would start a company that pays for housing, food, water, and basic supplies, including some entertainment like a television, and some technology for the homeless and lower-class people first in my local area and then expanding outward until every single person was not homeless or in need of a safe place to live. I would not stop until every single person was taken care of. Then I would also use my money to advertise the businesses and people who actively create or cause homelessness to occur, offer free information people need to know to avoid those people and avoid giving them more money. There are plenty of people in the United States who struggle to make ends meet or even find a place to live. They deserve to have a chance to get themselves together and make their own dreams come true. Also, I purposely don't want my name or likeness advertised for this business or company. I don't want to be physically seen being involved with it in any way. I don't want to be thanked or gifted with anything of value or notoriety until I am dead and in the ground. I do not think people knowing it was me will give me any kind of good karma, and if anything, it could put a larger target on my back if a good number of people knew. However, I would make sure there was a group of people who could carry on this exact tradition if I were to meet an untimely demise. I think I would call the company Paid Forward. All sorts of people in my past have helped me out so much I have only been homeless for 6 hours so far in life. I consider myself lucky in that regard. Not everyone can be, and I don't want anyone to be anymore. Forget money hoarding, forget the obscenely rich, and especially forget the government we have that refuses to make any kind of lasting impact to change homeless and lower class lives here in America. Story 21. The government. Apparently, it is for sale. Then I would give everyone universal health care, give teachers a minimum salary of $100,000, and set the maximum classroom size to 20. Make kindergarten through 16th grade completely free with student meals while schools are in session. Childcare would be attached to elementary and middle schools, also free. Then color me surprised when the economy is so good that I am net positive after 20 years. Story 22. A small tropical island with a bit of elevation due to global warming, Build a concrete dwelling and ride out those hurricanes. Not a pedophile island, but maybe a fire festival once in a while. Story 23. Food distribution, shelter, education, and proper health care, both physical and mental, for everyone. I would start with my loved ones because I am still a bit selfish but would quickly expand to everyone else. Story 24. Free healthcare for all. Everyone gets to eat. Everyone has a warm, sheltered place with clothes on their back. $100 billion bounty on cures for every terminal illness found released into the public domain. Story 25. A really, really good night's sleep. Like those weighted blankets but filled with the tears of my student loan providers. And maybe a lifetime supply of those perfect grocery store avocados that are ripe just right. Story 26. A golden visa, maybe in Portugal. Houses, luxurious travel. And then I would start an organization that gives money to people to help with whatever they need, such as debt or healthcare. Then I would surprise them with an extra $50,000. Story 27. I would buy up all the access to fresh water on the planet and then sell it back to the rest of humanity at an inflated price. The only thing better than having all the money you could ever possibly need is having even more money than you could ever possibly need. If you think no one would do this, look at every single multi-billionaire in the world. They all want just a little bit more. Story 28. Dental surgery for my cat. He was my ex's cat, and he was pretty severely neglected. His gums are literally rejecting his teeth. He's 9 years old, and I love him and want him to be happy and healthy. His vet bills are upwards of $2,500, and I'm just too broke to afford it anytime soon. Story 29. Teeth so I can eat real food. I'm losing way too much weight, and a large home for my son and his family. Since it's infinite, I would also buy everyone's medical debt. Story 30. I would pay off my mortgage, then pay off the mortgage of my entire neighborhood, but only for people who are homeowners living in the homes. No homes with renters in them would be paid off, and I would do it anonymously. Story 31. A big island. Move far away from people, have enough houses on the island so that any of my friends could come stay for free and live their own life without worry. Story 32. First thing, probably that Princess Peach game for the Nintendo Switch that my 6-year-old has been asking for since she saw someone playing it on YouTube. I don't have the disposable income to pay full price for a game, and Nintendo never puts them on sale. After that, a new car and house, and I guess a system to house axolotls, as she also really wants some of those for whatever reason. Story 33. First thing I'm buying is a house. $1 million tops. Then, I'm buying the biggest fridge I can find and stuffing it to the max with ingredients and anything else I can think of. Hire a private chef and staff to serve me around the clock for anything I want or anywhere I want to go and do whatever I want. Dinner in Paris on a Friday? Done. Tickets to a private one-on-one concert with Billie Eilish? Done. Story 34. The Pokemon Trading Company then re-release all the classic early games and devices fully functional at a fair price, so the next generations of humans can enjoy the older games, which are slowly becoming rare collector items and pricing people out, turning them to read-only memory versions. I am in favor of read-only memory from a purely preservation perspective, but they are just not as fun or special as playing the real versions on, albeit antiquated analog technology. Story 35. Start a health insurance company. $100 per month and everybody can get coverage. If you cannot afford it, then it will be prorated from 100 to 0. No denying of claims. Story 36. A house out in Wyoming for my family. My dad can't handle the summers anymore due to being stuck on blood thinners for the rest of his life, so he wants to move out there. Story 37. Fund for research into CRISPR and extending human lives, specifically mine. Also, pay for research into the gut microbiome for curing autism and Parkinson's for family members. Then I'd quit my job and move to a nice small village somewhere in Europe. Story 38. Hats, hats, more hats, strange hats, hats with effects, shiny hats, hats with rain, cool hats, expensive hats, cheap hats, beautiful hats, terrible hats, even more hats, just hats in general. I like hats. Story 39. Besides paying off everything, probably a 12-pack of Monster and a stuffed crust meat lover's pizza from Pizza Hut. Now I'm prepared to figure out how to spend the rest. Story 40. Set up a will in which my niece and future niece or nephew receive everything. I will try my best to keep my wealth discreet so they don't grow up spoiled, knowing they don't have to do anything in life. Ensure they have goals and dreams, and make sure I'm leaving them in the best position to achieve those goals when I pass away. Story 41. I would pay off the mortgages of those in my life who have always done right by me and my family, and I would make a sizable investment for each of them that paid dividends for their life. Then I would buy a silent 120, a solar yacht, and travel the world on it. I would fly friends and family out to stay on the yacht with us at all the cool spots along the way. Story 42. Nothing beats the feeling of giving them away to people who need things desperately. It would take a long time of giving away before I would buy something big for myself. Story 43. First thing I would buy is a first-class flight to see my son in college. To tell him I love him and now he can do what he loves, not what he has to do to survive in an increasingly dystopian world. Then I am getting some Taco Bell, because I will never be too rich for a burrito supreme and a Baja Blast. Story 44. I would build a bakery where the most accomplished pastry chef in the world bakes one pain chocolate for me every morning. That's all. The rest goes to good causes. And since it's infinite, every cause, except Nazism, they get nothing. Story 45. I would buy an island in a region with temperate to cooler temperatures, featuring mountains and trees. Then I would build a completely self-sustaining compound on it. I would invest in a few things that would help increase my wealth while being beneficial to humanity, like tidal generators, wind and solar power, and invest heavily in creating more efficient batteries. The financial growth output would be tremendous, but I would only charge 10 to 25% over cost, depending on income and national gross domestic product. I would have a world-class medical facility on my island, and all healthcare on it would be free. All citizens of the island would be paid a fair wage, and it would all be taxed at 20%, with the only deductions being for children. That would be -2% per child, up to 3 children. After that, no more deductions. We would, of course, import needed materials and goods, and export what we could, most likely seafood and salt from desalination plants for making our freshwater. I am sure we would have medical tourism, which would be wrapped into packages and sold based on the procedures done and the individual's ability to pay. As my wealth grew, I would need to have a security force. Eventually, I would establish my own micronation, and we would draft a constitution. It would be a constitutional monarchy with a parliament to handle governing. No politician would be able to earn more than 5% less than the average constituent, and they would be unable to receive anything from companies or groups. No lobbying, no bribery. Any politician who tells a lie would receive 1 year per lie of hard labor. Half-truths would earn 6 months. Politicians would live in condos with 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms based on family size. 95 billion is not enough to do all of this. The size of the island I need would cost me around $500 million to $1.5 billion. Since I want it to be in a more northern or southern hemisphere, and not tropical, that is in my favor. There is a nice one-off New York for sale, but that may be too small. The fact that I want to make a micronation on it is both good and bad for me, but I think it would be doable. If I could get the renewable energy initiatives and efficient batteries and so forth going well, along with medical tourism, I would be in a favorable position. By medical tourism, I mean actual healthcare, not cosmetic surgeries. I would prioritize women's healthcare and all sorts of medical research like cancer research, with the transportation and other aspects, making it cheaper than what you can get in the United States and better quality, maybe a utopia.